Welcome to the program. My name is Rufus Johnson. I am the founder and the CEO of The Real Truth, Inc. It's been a long time coming. I have a lot of programs that's coming out for you for 2016. I haven't been nowhere, but we just been doing a lot of production. I've been looking at a lot of different people that I wanted to put on my series, and I want to get right into my program. Today's program is going to really focus on guns and safety and community. Guns, safety, and the community. And I had an opportunity to meet this wonderful guy, and I met him through a friend, and I was interested in getting my CCW, which is concealed carry weapon license, or I guess that's weapon license or certification to get your license. But anyway, after meeting this guy, man, I was really into the awareness, because after I look at all the things that's happening in our community and all the violence and all the crime and all the things that's going on with guns, that's guns in our community, I just had to actually put together this program, and I got a wonderful guy that'll be coming out with this program named Douglas Cooper, and it's called the Populace, and he actually will be hosting this series, and I will actually be producing this series. So right now I want to get into introducing my today's guest, Douglas Cooper. Welcome to the program.
Thank you very much, Mr. Johnson.
Doug,
it's an honor and pleasure to be here.
No, it's an honor and a pleasure for you to be here with me, you know what I mean? Because, after going through your classes, I learned a lot. After going through your classes, I was motivated to put these series on television. But the thing that stood out with me the most was that when you educating people about gun safety, these things is not really taught from where I sit. Now, maybe I'm wrong, because I think this is the first a program or a television series that will be actually happening coming into 2016 on my production.
I think you're absolutely correct.
And that was the thing that motivated me to actually do these series with you, is because you give information. And information is important. And what we see today, because a person have a gun or carry a gun, they need to understand the laws and the do's and the don'ts. So I want you to basically educate us, bring us into how did you get started into this business, and give me a little bit about your background. Absolutely. And then we would go on from there.
Funny enough, I graduated from St. Xavier High School in 1988.
Correct.
I didn't understand their motto at the time. Their motto is a man for others. I didn't get it. Graduated finally from UC with bachelor's in literature and history with minors in philosophy and theology. My whole life I planned on being a teacher. Some things happened, didn't work out, wound up being a federal agent for the Treasury Department for a while.
Okay.
That's where I also kind of expanded my skill set. I've been into martial arts since I was 7. I've been shooting since I was 4. My granddad was a hunter, and my father was a cop, and then worked for
So this is in the family upbringing.
It is a family thing. Every wall on our house had racks of guns on them.
Right.
But what really kind of drove it home is in 2009, my father had already died, but my mother had a stroke. And she is the reason that I am the man that I became. And
Okay.
So there was no way she was going to go into a nursing home. I became her 24/7 caregiver. There were times in my life on road trips that I would carry a gun and at different times, but I never carried one every day. Once I became her caregiver, it really hit me that my job is to come home safe every night, because I'm the only child of an only child, which is like being the 7th son of a 7th son.
Okay.
But if something happened to me, she could become a ward of the state. That was intolerable for me to think about. So I went out, I got my concealed carry permit, and I don't walk out the door without a gun, because I have to make it home every night.
Okay.
There's my family that loves me and that I love them. And in her case, literally, she was completely dependent on me. And that's where, at my wife's suggestion, because I did have to resign from the Treasury Department to take care of her, it was her that suggested, why don't I get into maybe teaching concealed carry, which combines two of my great loves. I've always loved shooting and guns, and I like educating and teaching.
So your inspiration came from your wife?
From my mother and my wife, yeah.
Okay.
Two most influential women in my life. Probably two most influential people, period. But everybody out there has spouses, children, parents, whatever, that love them and depend on them to come home safely, and safety is an illusion. You are never completely safe. Mm-hmm. Right now, a meteorite could come crashing through this roof and kill both of us. So
right.
You're never 100% safe, but you can definitely take steps to increase the odds of you getting home safely, and that's where I fell into my niche.
So you left your job and resigned?
To take care of my mother.
And then from that point, you
Went through the training through the NRA to become a certified instructor.
Oh, okay. So that's how you got your start.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, and then the difference, I think, in my class is because this has all grown through word of mouth. I have made my business on referrals. Not coming from a strictly law enforcement background, which there's nothing wrong with that, I have a much more practical outlook on it. For me, that carrying of a gun was a necessity for me to stay safe to get home to my mother.
And so for me, not you having a law enforcement background, but what makes you different and your message different that you deliver to the people and the community than law enforcement?
I will be very honest with you. I have lived my entire life.
This is the real truth.
Well, here's real truth then. I have lived my entire life in Roselawn.
Correct.
And so growing up, I watched my smart friends get in trouble and not go to jail, and I watched my dumb friends get in trouble and go to jail. So I would ask my smart friends, what did you say? How did you get out of it? Case in point, even with a concealed carry permit, if you have a baseball bat in your car, you can get charged a felony if you don't have a ball or glove. One of my buddies got pulled over. He was able to think on his feet real quick. He said, I'm going to the batting range. I don't need a ball or glove for that. That's pretty neat. It's things like that that you don't get in other classes. The other thing, too, I always try to stress to people is it's not just about carrying a gun. It's situational awareness. It's carrying other tools to help keep you safe. Don't rely just on one thing. And also because I have a lot of veterans that as soon as you come out of the military, your DD-214, you can go get a concealed carry permit. That doesn't mean you know the laws.
Okay, so now they may don't understand the terminology.
I'm sorry, the DD-214 is your release for your honorable release from service.
Okay.
So I just had an Army Ranger go through my class who had declassified footage from him over in Baghdad. He obviously can shoot, but he
Correct.
doesn't know the laws.
Okay.
And so what I always tell you is the crackhead on the street may take your life, but if you don't know the laws, the legal system will take your freedom. Neither of those you can afford to lose.
Correct.
So when you leave my class, you are an expert on concealed carry law.
And my whole thing is, I took the class, and I was so enlightened on because there was a major part of the class whereas that you actually educate and emphasize the laws, the do's and the don'ts, which we'll be getting into that in a minute. He's going to go through some of these laws, and that's very important,
It's critical.
And I think that is not only just carrying a concealed weapon, but I think that is a major part of letting the people know why you carry these concealed weapon. You have to be aware, and that's another thing that I learned from your class was not that you bring the information, you also bring the awareness.
At 100%. 90% of trouble can be avoided if you just stay aware of your surroundings. But one of the other examples which I use in class is that police officers have to memorize hundreds of laws. They are not going to be necessarily concealed carry experts. So you may find yourself as a concealed carry holder having to very respectfully and humbly educate an officer. For instance, if I pull you over, even though you are legal and you have your concealed carry, I can request to hold on to your gun during the traffic stop.
I could tell you one of the laws I remember.
What's that?
If a police officer pulled me over, and I would bring to his awareness that I'm a concealed carrier holder. And one of the things that you educated us on was for me not to touch my firearm.
Amen.
Told you I'm a good
exactly it. Because most people, when an officer tells them to do something, they do so without, okay, here's my gun. Well, the moment you touch that gun, it's a felony. So instead it's, sir, I am happy to relinquish my firearm to you. However, as I'm sure you're aware, touching a gun in front of an officer is a felony. So if you want to get me out of the car, put me on the ground, put me in handcuffs. Whatever will make you comfortable, please take it off my left hip. Things like that, but you've got to know those things.
Okay.
Because those are the things that will wind you up getting in trouble, jail, felony, all kinds of stuff if you're not educated. And when people walk through that door, I try to entertain, and because part of education is entertaining. So I tell in stories, I use different methods to try to reach them. but I really want them to remember key points like that when they leave. And so I'm glad you did. That's one of the biggest things. Don't ever touch that gun in front of a cop. No, it's a hot potato game. Nope.
And that's one of the things that I loved about the class, because it was so, having more information, and you emphasize that, and and that's for the love of your work. So let's get into talking about getting legal. I mean, get into some of the things that people should be educated. And like I say, you would see Doug, numerous of time, he'll be having his own show, the Populace. He'll be educating the community. He will be doing so much. Look, I'm so excited. I can't get y'all everything, but y'all will have to tune in, and
we've got a lot more coming.
Trust and believe me. But we're going to get right now to getting legal. From Douglas Cooper.
Let's go with this. There's sort of a flow chart. First of all, don't be a victim. That's number one. And we have been victims throughout history. We were victims to tigers, wolves, bears. We are the only species, though, that figured out how to use tools to equalize it. So suddenly when you have a fire going and you have an obsidian spear, you can hold your own against that saber-toothed tiger.
Correct.
So let's not be a victim.
Okay.
How do you not be a victim? Get legal. There's a lot of people out there right now, and I understand, that are carrying guns that are not legal.
Correct.
It's $65 for the class. Get legal. Because if you get pulled over, if you get stopped, and you have a gun on you without a permit, you get carrying concealed weapon. It's a felony, which means you're never going to be able to get legal. Mm-hmm. So invest the time to get legal so that you can legally carry your firearm. Mm-hmm. Not everybody carries their firearm every day, but they have that card that says they can if they want to.
Because I had got a phone call early today as I was getting ready, and I was telling the person that I'm about to, kick off these new series with Douglas Cooper, the Populace, and she was telling me something about, like, one of her friends went to court, and to make a long story short, that they had a domestic violence case going against them or whatever not, had to get a restraining order or whatever not. But like I say now, that's one of the reasons y'all need to come to the class or tune into his television program.
I have to tell you, predominantly, a lot have been female, but even male students that have come through my class, the horror stories that I have heard that have prompted them then to take responsibility and ownership for their self-preservation. Do it before something awful happens. Don't get mugged, don't get raped, don't get beaten, and then decide you're going to take ownership of your self-preservation. Do it beforehand. So that way then, if trouble finds you, you can deal with it. Or at least you're in a better position to deal with it. It's kind of ironic. Right before we started taping, I got a call from one of my concealed carry students who actually had to shoot someone last night in the shoulder because they came at him with a katana, like a Japanese samurai sword.
Okay.
Downtown.
Wow.
And it's the world is crazy. And I talk to people who say, well, I avoid those places, and so therefore I don't need to worry about it. That's like expecting a lion not to eat you because you're a vegetarian. Kenwood Mall, very nice area of town, right?
Correct.
A 14-year-old with a carving knife carjacked a lady from Kenwood Mall. There is no place where you are safe. That goes back to the whole safety is an illusion. Take ownership of your self-defense. It's not your brother's job, your father's job, your husband's job, your boyfriend's job. Plus, it's unfair to put that responsibility on him. If I'm your wife, to expect you always to be there to protect me is unfair to you. We're not always together. We're not together 24/7. Each individual needs to take that responsibility of keeping themselves safe.
So what else you got on getting legal? I mean, that's the only part that you wanted to put out there is getting legal.
When I say get legal, what that means is you need to attend a concealed carry class. Mm-hmm. I of course will recommend mine, but there's lots out there. So I don't care who you go to. I think you should come to me, but get legal. Then get armed.
Right. That's the second thing.
Because getting your concealed carry permit benefits you. Because this is real truth. So let's talk about real truth. Is there profiling in Cincinnati?
Correct.
Yes. Is it right? No. But does it happen? Absolutely. Having your concealed carry permit instantly tells a police officer, not a felon. You're one of the good guys or girls. So having your concealed carry permit benefits you. When they run your plates, it will show up bright red, armed and dangerous. Now, cops aren't stupid. They're going to look to see why. Is it because this guy smacked his girlfriend? Is it because he just robbed a liquor store? Oh, he's a concealed carry holder. This person's 90% legit.
Okay.
So having your concealed carry permit benefits you. Having your concealed carry permit and a sidearm benefits society as a whole. For all I know, you might save my life one day.
Correct.
You know, you're driving home and you look down and you're like, oh my God, that's Doug being attacked by some crackhead. You can come to my aid. So get legal, be armed, and then stay vigilant.
Okay, what do stay vigilant means?
Be aware of your surroundings.
Okay.
You know, if you start to pull into a gas station and it looks shady, pull right back out. You know, that's the one thing I can't stress enough, and you've been through my class, so you know how it starts.
Correct.
Carrying a gun does not make you a tough guy.
Correct.
It needs to make you humble.
Correct.
I will go out of my way to avoid confrontation.
And you know, there was another thing that I looked at with you when you was educating the class, that, you know, a lot of us have attitude problem. You stressed it in your class. If you have an attitude problem or a hot head, this ain't for you.
I'll give you your money back and there's the door. I would be doing you a disservice, because that gun's going to get you a lot more in trouble than your fists. So yeah, if you're going to carry a gun, you're going to be humble. You're going to walk away. Or the only way that gun is going to come into play is if you are truly afraid for your life. And if you're not, walk away. There can be no code red words. For some ladies, the B word, being called a bitch.
Okay.
Oh, I'll fly off the handle and hunt me. It's a word. A word has never once caused me to get stitches, an
Correct.
ice pack, left a bruise. So you cannot have trigger words if you're going to carry a gun. There is nothing you can say to me across this table that's going to get me mad enough that it's going to escalate. You know what I'm going to do? I'll just get up and leave.
Especially in relationships.
Absolutely.
You know,
Absolutely.
and I think that a lot of, because you have a lot of high rate in domestic violence, you know, I'm not saying who's right or wrong, I'm just saying statistically,
There's
you
a
know
lot.
what I mean? And you have a lot of women today is being more certified, is getting certified because of, you know, fear for their family or fear for themselves. Do you have a lot of them questions come across you a lot?
This breaks my heart. They usually come to me after the fact. Well, my boyfriend threw me across the room by my face, and I was helpless, and I don't ever want to feel that way again, so now I'm here. We have an entire, probably 2, maybe 3 generations of women that have been raised on this nonsense of no means no. No is just a word. If you can't enforce it, scream blueberry pancakes, scream trampoline, it's the same thing. If I tell you, no, I don't want you any closer, don't put your hands on me.
Right.
I can enforce it now.
Right.
So, right there, that is the game changer. I am 6'4", 400 pounds, but I'm telling you right now, one of those, and I'm going, lady, will you please call 911 and get me some help?
Right.
It is the grand equalizer, because a little 120-pound girl, woman, I should say, she meets me in a dark alley, I'm an abusive boyfriend, whatever, no chance. She says no and has a little Glock chambered in .380 or whatever, totally different story. 4.75 pounds of trigger pull, totally different story.
It changed the game.
It is. It makes it truly, you know, God created man, but Samuel Colt made him equal.
All right, now, so y'all heard that. Be aware. Be more vigilant, you know, about your surroundings and what you do, you know. So, I mean, it's all about safety. And that's one of the reasons I took on this task with you, is like, look, this is something that I want to put out, because it's all about education and information. Making sure that we, as a whole, and the community is aware of our do's and don'ts.
Absolutely. And if you think for a minute, and if you don't have any, good for you, but if you think about your criminal friends or criminal associates that you've known throughout your life, most criminals, because of my job, I study criminal psychology and also the psychology of violence. Criminals do not want confrontation. They want to steal your hubcaps, steal something, and pawn it for money. The moment you let them know that you're not a victim, that you can defend yourself, most criminals will flee. The ones that don't, you need to be scared of. You need to treat them like you would a rabid dog or a shark in shallow water, because they've already made up your mind, like, this little bit of gold, my wedding band, isn't worth my life. They're willing to slit my throat over that. There's no reasoning with those people.
And I'm glad you brought that up, because it was another point that I was educated on in your class then, when you spoke on, if you was in a vehicle and you carry your concealed weapon, that you do not need to leave it in your car if you have a felon in your seat. Touch on that a little bit real quick.
It will all come down, of course, to the officer who pulls you over. However, What you want to tell them is, sir, they did not know I had a concealed carry permit, nor that I was carrying a weapon on me. It is the felon's job to stay away from a firearm. It is not your job to keep them away from it. So, one of the ways you can insulate your friends or people that are riding with you if you get pulled over is, say you and I are together, it's, officer, he did not know that I had a concealed carry nor that I had a weapon on me. In fact, if you'd like, I'll put it in my trunk. That way there's no, because it's all about access. That way there's no way you can get access to it. I didn't know. From now on when we hang out, I won't carry it on me.
Okay, check that out.
And I didn't know, honestly, we had never really talked. I didn't know he had a felony. We've been friends for a long time. It's just never come up because some people have done some stupid stuff when they were younger, 18, 19. Now they're 40 years old and it's still haunting them. That's a whole nother subject for a whole nother show because that's not the way our judicial system was supposed to be. It's not supposed to be a scarlet letter that you wear the rest of your life, but that's kind of how it is. So there are a lot of cases even where I've had women come through because their husbands are felons. And it's just like we were talking about, they're not always together. They want to be able to protect themselves. So then at home, to make sure the husband doesn't get in trouble, they have a little safe, they put their gun in and lock it. That way the person who has the felony has no access to the firearm. Well, same rules apply if you have a daycare in your home. During the hours of operation, the gun must be locked up in a part of the house that the daycare is not in.
Correct. Okay, but, you know, and we just giving you a little bit. That's the reason you need to come out. We're going to give you contact information on how you can contact Douglas Cooper at Arms the Populace. We're going to have that at the end of the show. Then you can also contact me, you know, if you want to get into anything, you know, as far as the referrals to Arms the Populace to get involved with this. Be aware of what's going on. So now the biggest part, now I got a little treat for y'all too, because, you know, I got to have something, because we're going to get into things and talking about self-defense and tools and different things you can use without even having a gun on you. And I'm going to turn it back over to my man, Douglas Cooper.
I am a huge proponent of do not rely on one tool to save your life. It's great that you carry a gun. Great. That's one tool. But you need more than one tool in a toolbox. So, what I brought today are just some other different implements. And some of these are not for everybody, which is why I brought a variety of things. First of all, carry a decent knife. You know, a knife is a tool. We used knives before we had fire. So this goes back before we had fire, we were using knives. The overall rule of thumb, 4 inches or less can be concealed. That is a 4-inch blade. Funny enough, 4 inches is also what you need to hit vital organs. But this is a tool. I stir my coffee with it, I open my mail with it, I cut boxes with it. But I've also taken the knife fighting seminars where very easily it can become a very deadly weapon if I need it to be. The Apache, I study warrior cultures. The Apache were known for carrying up to 12 knives on them at one time. Okay. And when asked which one was their favorite, it was the one that kills you. Because, and just think about this for a minute, because this goes into the psychology of violence. When I leave my house, personally, I carry 2 guns and 3 knives. It may sound a little excessive, but there's a reason for it. One is my beater knife that I just use for everything. One I keep factory sharp, and it's a combat knife. This is a karambit. It is strictly made for throat slitting, and I don't use it for anything. It just stays in my pocket. The other one that I think everyone should carry is a neck knife. This is worn right around your neck. It stays right here. Even if you're on the ground, doubled up, getting stomped on, I can still get to this. If I'm grabbed, I can still get to right here. And as you can see, that's a game changer.
Okay, all right.
They also make what's called assisted openers. These are perfectly legal. Now, I'll admit knives are up close, personal, and messy. So some people are like, well, I understand it, but I think I might have a problem getting blood all over me or whatever. I'm not sure if someone's really trying to kill you if you would still have that problem, but psychologically, if you have that problem going into it, let's look at some other options for you.
All right.
I am a big fan of what they call force magnifiers. Something like this is a novelty keychain, but if you look at where it lines up, it's devastating, and it's a lot better than carrying your keys in your hand. These are force magnifiers. This is a pen. It's a pen. It's made out of aircraft grade aluminum though, so if I bring this down, okay, pin isn't going to break. It's going to do serious damage because all of that force now is it's the difference between hit with a fist versus hit with a finger. This is one that Cold Steel makes that I absolutely love because it's completely plastic. This is a Sharpie. Give me an autograph, Rufus.
All right.
Just like that, right?
Right.
Okay. Once it's screwed on, and this can go through any metal detector on a plane, anywhere. Brings down a tremendous amount of force.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay, pocket sharp.
But it's a Sharpie marker. They can't argue with about it.
Okay.
Ladies, a rat tail comb. It's a beautiful self-defense weapon.
Okay, okay. Right.
Part of keeping yourself safe is thinking outside the box. So I'm going to go even a step further. There's a couple other neat gadgets. This is another Cold Steel product. It's a hairbrush. This one's actually, my wife said, has hair in it. But it's all plastic. Pull it apart, it's a cruciform dagger. Cruciform means there's an X, which means if you don't get stitches or cauterize the wound, you're going to keep bleeding. So now if you get stabbed with this, you have to go to the hospital. But it's a hairbrush until you need it to be something else. No only means no if you can enforce it. So if I'm in a car with some guy, I'm a girl, he starts getting too grabby, this plunged into his quad is going to get him off me.
Oh, see, now that's real slick, because you would have never known that.
No. It just pushes right in. There you go. And then you just grab the brush and pull it right out.
Oh, look. I'm about ready to go to... Yo, this is good.
I'm also, because you can't carry a baseball bat, I'm a big fan of the expandable baton.
Okay.
I like these for two reasons. One, it can easily be argued this is a life-saving tool. If I need to bust out my window of my car to get out, or what if there's it's a hot day and there's a baby in the car? I can't go over and walk and punch that glass and break it. I have to have something that'll break glass. Also, there's a psychological effect because predominantly who carries these? Law enforcement. So I let people make their own conclusions.
So are citizens allowed to carry this?
Absolutely. Everything on this table is perfectly 100% legal.
Oh, okay then.
And like I said, these are things like that you cannot get in trouble with because you can argue it is a life-saving tool.
I'll be back.
The other thing you should always carry is a tactical flashlight. Even in the studio, that's blinding.
Right.
At night, it's even worse. Most tactical flashlights also feel that serration. It's a first strike weapon. You blind and you strike. And you bring it right down through there to take the eye. Again, brutal, but a lot of times even just the light itself is enough to disorient.
Wow. Things that you wouldn't even...
Do you realize if someone would have had a flashlight in that Batman movie shooting, how many people could have been saved? Even with the smoke grenades and that kid made, if someone would have had a flashlight, they could have at least led others to safety crawling. So to me, I always recommend carry a knife, carry a flashlight along with your gun.
Okay.
For your cars, for your vehicles. I go to yard sales and places like that, and I buy a bunch of old tools. I have a 5-gallon bucket. It's $5, take your pick. It's a tool. You cannot get in trouble for this. Officer pulls you over. It's a wrench. It's a tool. Until I need it to be a weapon. And once I do, now I've got this where I can wrap my finger through to strike with on this end. I have a force magnifier on this end. I have a wobble knot maker. But it's just a crescent wrench.
Okay.
That's why I say think outside the box.
Right.
Wasp and hornet killer is another great tool that you can carry if you're not trying to get that close.
Ooh, I'll bust you up.
But I mean, if someone wouldn't have showed you, hey, carry a crescent wrench.
Correct.
Was that a conclusion you would have come to on your own?
No, because I wouldn't been thinking outside of the box. And that's reason one, it's very important that the show The Populace is going to be great for our community because you will be bringing awareness. You will be educating things that people need to know to be safe for them and their family.
And it may not even be about a person. It may be about a stray dog. But a stray pit bull will send you to the hospital just as quick as a mother will. So
I have seen stories where pit bulls have attacked the children. You know,
a little girl was in Price Hill almost got killed by one.
Right.
And I'm an animal lover. This is not advocating, and I'm not saying that all pit bulls are bad. I don't believe in breed-specific legislation or any of that. I just use them as an example because Roselawn has a stray pit bull infestation. So if you don't want to carry a gun, because there are some people that I've encountered in this who just, for whatever reason, I don't want to carry a gun. Okay, let me help you out. Carry mace, carry a taser, carry one of these, carry everything else but a gun, but try to keep yourself safe.
You know, I even, let me make sure I got mine around here, because you know, something he gave me, you know, I'll be ready for y'all too. Don't get it twisted.
That is a very nice assisted over.
Don't get it twisted, because I'm going to be armed.
Well, and it's because everyone thinks about the Wild West, and the Wild West wasn't wild because everybody had a six-shooter. Me, you, Grandma Moses, everybody. So if you and I are at a card game and we think about drawing on each other, we better take it outside, because as soon as we pull a gun, they're going to 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 pull it. The bartender's going to pull a gun, the piano player's going to pull a gun, everybody's going to pull a gun, so we need to go outside. Robert Heinlein, he's a science fiction author. One of my favorite quotes by him is, "An armed society is a polite society." There's a lot of truth in that.
You got any more toys over there?
Actually, funny enough, I do. This is actually my own personal neck knife that I absolutely love, but I highly recommend get a walking cane. This one's made by Cold Steel. It's high polymer plastic. There is no metal in it other than my little D-ring that I have on it. But once again, we're back to I can take it on a train, plane, bus. Because of the Americans with Disabilities Act, you cannot deny me my cane. There is an entire school of martial arts called Hapkido. It was the martial art of the Korean nobility. The main fighting weapon was a cane. Now, when I use it, it's my cane until I need it to be something else.
Right.
But anyone can carry a cane.
Right. Let me see how that look on me. What's my name? The ink.
Actually, I think you need it's the city state. It's got the silver head. It's very dapper. Right. That's exactly it. And on top of that, with the hook on a cane, you can also grab behind the neck to control your opponent.
Oh, okay.
It gives you a lot more flexibility.
See, all of these things is what you're gonna be able to be educated on from this show, from Arm to Populace. All these things he's showing you. I mean, he ain't even scratched the surface. You know what I mean?
No, this is to kind of give the audience an idea of
what's coming.
Arm the Populace does not just mean carrying a gun.
Correct.
It is a lot more than that. And besides, these are all just tools. They really are. Even a gun is just a tool. What really separates you is the mental and spiritual and that resolution of I'm not going to be a victim. I'm not. Now, again, coupled with that is I'm the guy that you want to show up if your car's broken down. Mm-hmm. You know, I don't know anything about mechanics, but I've got a cell phone. I probably have an extra water in my car. I'll bum you a cigarette. I'll take you where you want to go. And that's what I have found being a concealed carry instructor. I get people from all walks, races of life. It doesn't matter. They're all good people. They're the ones you want to show up if your car's broken down or you're in need. So being armed and taking responsibility for your self-defense does not mean that you're a tough guy and you're walking around with a chip on your shoulder or anything like that. It's exactly the opposite. Mm-hmm. You are humble. You will walk away from confrontation. It's just if you are backed into a corner, you're left with no other choice. You can respond with overwhelming force, shock and awe.
Okay, I see you got a little, what's that, the plate over there or something?
This was, for concealed carry, people thinking about getting their concealed carry. I get a lot of people saying, well, what do we have to hit? You know, how hard? I've never shot a gun. First of all, we use 22s for qualifying. Now, if people have their own guns, they're welcome to bring them. But the guns and ammo that I provide, we use 22s because there's no recoil. I'm very proud to say I've had 70-year-olds take my class. I've had people in wheelchairs. I've had people on crutches. I've had an entire, if you name it, they've gone through my class. We shoot at paper plates at 21 feet. You need to put 5 rounds on a paper plate. 21 feet is not much further than from you to I. It's almost something you can point aim. So I don't want anyone to be discouraged about taking the class.
Correct.
Because of that. The other thing, it's another neck knife. But again, being a student of different weaponry and that, this one was actually designed for women. The idea behind it is, in what they call a code red situation, meaning you are being attacked. It has gone way past the arguing stage. Someone has their hands on you. With a typical knife, there is a chance you could get struck and that knife knocked from your hand. Let me see your hand. Make a fist, now pull. That is not going to get knocked out of your hand.
Right, when you actually,
There's no way for me to knock that out of your hand.
Right,
And you don't have to throw Mike Tyson blows with that for it to be a game changer. A few quick jabs to the face, and I need you to call 911 and get me to a doctor. I'm so sorry I tried to mug you. Please get me some medical attention.
All right, I like this too.
Besides being a concealed carry instructor, I do have my federal firearms license, and I'm also set up as a dealer with a lot of different of the cutlery companies and things like that. And I really...
So what separate you being, what's that, NRA trainer than federal? I mean, because...
There's different ways you can become certified to teach concealed carry. I opted through the National Rifle Association. There are other, like there's OPATA, which is more law enforcement geared. There's different ways you can get your certification to be an instructor.
So you have NRA.
I'm an NRA accredited instructor, yes,
Then
sir.
you mentioned...
I have my federal firearms license.
Correct.
Which we are that's kind of a neat thing. We're the only ones inside of the 452 area code. All your other gun stores are in little municipalities. Simon Lease shut them all down. We were the first ones to get run through and get approved.
Okay.
Being a federal firearms license holder, that means then I am a legitimate kitchen table gun dealer.
Okay.
So this goes back to my whole Arm the Populace. I charge $15 for transfers. That's it. So what happens is there's a lot of gun sites, and they post amazing deals, police trade-ins, things like that. They will not ship them to you. They have to come to an FFL where I do the NICS background check. Does that make sense?
Gotcha, right.
Once again, it is in my best interest not only to get you legal, but get you armed. That's why I only charge $15 for a transfer.
So basically, not only that they're gonna. I mean, you got a different variety of things,
And I'm set up as a dealer with most major cutlery companies as well. So, say for instance, this is roughly a $90, $100 knife. I get them for $45, $50.
Okay.
And before you go, well, I see knives that look like that all the time in the gas station for $10, $15. You're right. When you are buying high-end cutlery, you are paying for the steel. This is a US 8A steel. It's the best surgical grade steel Japan makes. To put it in layman's terms, I could go drive this through the hood of your car again and again and again. It's not going to hurt that tip.
Right,
But to manufacture steel like that takes much bigger machinery, hence why some knives are $15, other ones that look just like it are $100. But I wanted, again, to be able to arm the populace, to bring you everything you need. One-stop shopping, right? That's what you want, one-stop shopping. Come see me.
Right.
Get your tactical flashlight, get your everyday carry, get your neck knife, get you a baton.
Get your hairbrush.
Yeah. Get your hairbrush.
Right.
Get everything you need to keep yourself safe.
And that's why we are the real truth, reality, education, attitudes, and lifestyle. Now, we definitely got to talk about, and you ain't even scratched the surface.
No.
You ain't even scratched the surface yet, y'all. Let's talk about some of your upcoming shows. I mean, some of the things you wanted to put out there. I want to make sure we get them out there.
Absolutely. One of the first ones we're going to be doing is women in CCWs, because I'd say at least half of my classes are comprised of women. Women have had it. And no more of this putting your hands on me, pushing me around. They have figured it out, and I applaud them. Anyone that takes responsibility and ownership for their self-defense, kudos. Let me help you along the way. But my wife actually runs an all-women shooting group.
Okay.
So I'm going to have her on the show, and probably a couple of our female students.
Correct.
And how it's changed their lives. I'm going to tell you a real quick little story. The lady I mentioned earlier that got thrown across the room by her face. So I'd known her for a while. She was never really a gun girl, so I was surprised when she wanted to take the class. So I got her through the class. After we were done, I said, "Do you have time to hang out for a little bit?" And she said, "Sure." So we were talking, and I said, "What changed?" And that's when she told me about the incident. A few months go by. I get up one morning and I look, and there's a text from her on my phone. It said, "Well, last night was the first night I slept with a gun under my pillow." Oh my gosh, what happened? So I called her. It had started with the phone calls and the harassing and the driving by and honking the horn and all that. And so I said, "What'd you do?" She's like, "Well, I called the police, but the police wouldn't come unless he was out there. And by the time they would come, he was gone." I'm like, "Okay." So she's like, "I went to my safe, I got my gun out, I put it right underneath my other pillow, and I went to sleep." And a little bit of me was sad because she was such a sweet girl that I hate to see a little bit of that innocence die. But by the same token, I was so proud of her for being, and I said, "How did it feel?" And she said, "Honestly, there is no way I would have gone to sleep that night without my gun. I would have been sitting on the couch with 911 already ready to go and a flashlight, hoping for the best."
Correct.
I took my gun and I went to sleep, and if you knock that door down, that's your ass, Mr. Postman.
I know that's right. So you got the all-women's program, but you have your wife come in.
I'm going to be talking about competitive shooting.
Okay.
Guns are fun. I mean, they get such a bad rap in the press all the time, but growing up, shooting guns are a lot of fun. And so there's a lot of activities here locally even, target shooting, speed shooting that you can get involved with. I actually have a gentleman who is, he's actually our state champion right now. I'm going to try to get him on the show for the speed shooting and qualifying. We're going to be talking about close quarter combat. We're going to be doing some product reviews, and sort of like with these sort of things, if you don't know how to use them, they're not going to do you any good. Once you have a little bit of training with them, you can see how they become a weapon. So we're going to be talking about close quarter combat. We also do armed security.
Okay.
And in fact, one of our senior operative, he just did a gig recently for a U.S. senatorial candidate. He was their armed security because they have a couple that's a stalker, or stalkers, I guess, plural. So at their function here in Cincinnati, he was the one there with them at all times with a gun on him in case these crazy people showed up. So armed security, and what's interesting is when he was doing his gig as armed security, we talked about it afterwards. Basically, what he was doing is what we should be doing every day. I'm watching my back, and I'm kind of watching yours.
Correct.
We're going to talk about the versatile shotgun. That is, for home defense, you cannot beat it. I know Americans love their handguns, but we're going to do a whole show just on the versatility of the shotgun. Then we're going to get into high-capacity rifles, hand-to-hand. One of the places that I teach at is Black Ops. It's an indoor airsoft range, but they have the rooms set up, how to clear rooms in your own home. You hear a noise at night, you don't want to walk through your house like this because you go around the corner. If I'm waiting, I can snatch your gun out of your hand. You want to keep that gun close to your chest as you're walking through your house. So tips on that. And then there's many more stuff to come.
So you also have martial arts in there.
Absolutely. Unfortunately now, a lot of martial arts are meant for arena and sport fighting. There are very few true martial, because martial means war. That's what martial means. Martial arts would mean then the art of war. A lot of them now are for sport fighting. In war, if you cry mercy, that doesn't stop me. You can't tap out in a street fight. Does that make sense?
Correct.
So, any training...
There's no rules and regulations.
Right. Any training is better than no training.
Correct.
But if you really want martial arts for self-defense, there are very specific ones you want to study. MMA fighting is not street fighting. And anyone who's ever watched MMA and been in a street fight will tell you real quick that y'all know there's a big difference. You've been in my class, so you know all about Willie D. Crackhead. He's been with me since I first... He's my fictional character. He weighs 100 pounds and lives in a pile of black garbage bags. And one night, you may have to face him with a box cutter or a razor blade. MMA fighting, putting him in that Gracie guard or whatever, is just going to get you a trip to the hospital.
Correct.
So we're going to talk about, if you want to truly study martial arts, here are my recommendations as a 40-plus almost practitioner, 40-year-plus practitioner of martial arts.
I know I'm getting down to my closing time. I know I have about probably a good 10 minutes or 5 minutes left. But, like I say, I'm just, glad that, you're giving me an opportunity to produce these series. It's more to come.
I want to help.
Correct.
If you're not part of the solution, then you're part of the problem.
Correct.
So I'm going to take my gifts
Correct.
and my skill set and try to give it to as many people as possible.
Correct. And and that's what it's all about for me, Doug, information and education. And all the programs I have been producing throughout the years, that's what I focus on. Information and education, and making sure people is being aware on what's happening on whatever topic may be. And this is the first show I have ever done. Okay, and so I just got a word that I need to wrap it all the way up. So what we're going to do...
If I may, let me, real quick,
Right.
my philosophy. I don't care. Race, black, white, I don't care. Gender, male, female, I don't care. I don't care who you marry, who you love. I don't care what invisible person in the sky you pray to. If you're not part of the problem, you don't be a victim.
Okay, so real quick, I want you to give me 2 minutes of who you want to give a shout out to.
There's so many. My wife, Erin, of course. My mother, Gail, God rest her soul. My family, Beth. My range safety officers, Ozone, Jaron, Eric, you.
Appreciate you.
The Buccaneers of Cincinnati, Blazing Bullet Shooting Range, which allows me to keep my prices affordable, and everyone that's gone through my class and has recommended me. Thank you to all of you, because I realize I'm not for everyone, but I appreciate the recommendations.
And real quick, I know I got about 2 to 3 minutes left.
Okay.
My name is Rufus Johnson. I'm the founder and CEO of The Real Truth, Inc. I just brung you the real. It ain't going to get no realer than this. When you want the real, you got to tune in to all of these different channels. Doug Cooper will be coming on with the Populace, and I'm just excited. There's so much going to be going on. We also got classes coming up. I think we got Sassy Shoes will be the next.
All women's when we're going to do it.
All women's program. And Doug, I know you written that down. Was that?
Right here. By the way, the reason I do women's only classes, I try to do at least one a month, one every 6 weeks, because some women I can't change the way I look. I look like a Sasquatch. It's okay. But I can meet you on your terms. I can meet you in a beauty salon to do the class. This is a shoe store. It can't get any friendlier for women than that. I'm going to do a concealed carry class in a shoe store.
And look, this will be at Sassy Shoes, 7617 Ready Road, Brandy Moore. And on that note, like I always say, I see you at the top while I be among the stars.
Thank you.
Thank you, man, bro.
It was my pleasure.
Always. That's the beginning.
Amen.